Emil, Amok to you. Welcome to my takeout. Well, I'm getting older and I'm learning that it's okay to be slow. It's okay to slow down. You're old. But actually that's made me speak clear because I'm not like I'm on some kind of energy drink thing. I was going to say some other thing, alluding to a kind of chemical inducement to energy. But really, in the old days, I was kind of an energy guy, and now I'm really just old, and I'm slowing down. Anyway, welcome to my takeout, my Emil Amok's takeout. My takes on all things, excuse me, excuse me, all things considerable. Also, my voice is screwed up. And that's really the reason why I use a microphone when I'm on stage. Now, some of you may have seen me on the Monday Night March. We did it live at the Marsh, what is it called? The Marsh Theater in San Francisco on Valencia Street. And if you were there, thank you. If you were there. If you were there. But if you weren't there, maybe you saw it live stream on the marsh.org. Go to Monday Night Marsh, and there it is. I did my Christmas show. And by golly, it was already going to be morose because, I'm attending a funeral this week. That's why I'm here on Wednesday, because I thought there's too much going on. And let's talk about it now, because I'm going to a funeral toward the end of the weekend. It's just, I won't be in a proper frame of mind. So anyway, I was there Monday Night Marsh, and it was, I had to talk about, I'm a news guy. I have to talk about Australia, the shootings at Bondi Beach. Had to talk about the hero who stopped the shooters, but the killings, and look at what Australia is doing. They're trying to do something about the guns, the gun laws. It was kind of a refreshing kind of attitude. It was almost like the attitude they had back in 1989 when all those kids were killed in Stockton at the Cleveland school. I mean, I thought about that because, the gunshots or gun violence, mass gun violence, there's a legacy that you got to go back, and they're echoes. The gunshots are like echoes of all the gun violence in the past. I mean, Christmas time, right? We get this thing at Brown, we get the thing in Australia, and Sandy Hook, that was around. I remember coming out of a Christmas party, a holiday party, to the news about Sandy Hook in that year. So we're going to talk with Daniel Phil Gonzalez, my friend. He's going to come up in just a second. But anyway, so I did my show at the Monday Night Marsh. It was a good show. It was a show about excerpts of this show, or parts of the stories that I tell are parts of different Amok monologues. And I'm doing one in January in San Francisco. And if you have always wanted to see me, and you said, 20 minutes, going down to Valencia Street on a Monday night meal, I wasn't into that, but I do want to see you at some point. So see me in January. I'm going to do a show, different stories. They're always different. In Potrero Hill, go to amok.com, my website, and find out how to get tickets to that. It's a kind of a weird thing because the tickets are free, but with donation. All right, so they're not free. Well, they're kind of free, but they're donations, but they're kind of free. Just pick a number. If you want to go cheap, see it free, go ahead. But if you want to donate to the cause, you can do that. I mean, you can always donate because you see the crawl on the screen. So I did the show, and it's sad because I'm talking about Christmas and I'm talking about the shootings, and then there's a little uplifting sense because I talk about my first Christmas tree or trees. And then there's something more real when I talk about people who have come close to death just these last few weeks. So, it was a nice little 20-minute thing. I hope you were able to see it. If not, if you want to see it, email me, emilmuck@gmail.com. I'll send you a link. Send you how you can see that. But, yeah, I always enjoy doing the shows at the Marsh. I love the Marsh. I like Alexa, who runs the Monday night. She's great. I love that. I mean, I learned a lot about storytelling and about presenting and about performing from my time at the Marsh. Also, I've had other teachers too. But the Marsh, I always call the Marsh my home. So I'm doing this thing in January and February in San Francisco. Go to amok.com to see it, to get tickets there. And then I'm also going to be at the Rogue Festival in Fresno. I think that's in March. I'm going to be there in March. I'm trying to do something in Boston when I happen to be there in the spring. And then the rest of the year, it looks like I may not be going to Canada as much this year. But I'm hoping to go to Victoria and Vancouver and a bunch of other fringe shows or fringe festivals, because I love fringe festivals. I mean, you don't always have to go to Edinburgh. Well, Edinburgh is going to bust you. But this year I might go to Edinburgh just as a tourist, because I've got some family stuff to take care of there. Anyway, I hope you were able to see the Monday Night Marsh thing that I did. If not, like I said, send me an email, emilamuk@gmail.com, and I'll send you a link, tell you how to see it. Now, midweek, we're doing this show because, like I said, there's so much stuff happening, especially the gun violence and all the overall violence. I mean, you thought with the Brown University thing, that was sad, but then Australia, that was sad, and then Rob Reiner being killed, and with his wife, both murdered allegedly by their son. That's sad. So I just thought let's talk about it all before the week ends, because I'm going to be sad by the end of the week. Let's bring up my friend Daniel Phil Gonzalez, College of Ethnic Studies, San Francisco State University, Professor Emeritus, Asian American Studies. Hello, Daniel Phil.
Hello, Emil Amok.
So, Dan, I noticed you didn't go to my show on Monday, but did you see it at least online?
No, I forgot.
Oh, no. Dad, you forgot. Dad, you can't admit that. You gotta lie.
I forgot.
I'm going to banish you. I'm banishing you. Okay, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Not banishing you.
The reason I forgot was because Linda wasn't feeling well. And,
okay, that's always a good excuse.
We were planning to do other stuff, including potentially going to see you, and she started exhibiting cough and runny nose and sneezing and feeling tired.
All right. Now, enough said. I hope she feels better. Whenever you have to exhibit coughing, that is a bad thing. That is a bad thing. I hope she feels.
And she's not gotten better in the last couple of days, which really concerns me. She's sleeping better, but
yeah. Sleep helps. I was fighting off something too. I was fighting off something, and sleeping helps. It's
absolutely.
So anyway, so God bless her. I hope she's well.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
And if you missed it, like I said, people can just email me emilamuk@gmail, and I will send them links to the show. It was only 20 minutes, but the big show. Go to amok.com, and I'm doing a show in January, 2 shows in January and February, and so hopefully in San Francisco, so people will see that. So Dan, I was struck this weekend because we had Brown, we had the Australia thing, the Bondi Beach, and we had the Rob Reiner murder. It was just it was tragic all around. I'm just getting over it myself. I mean, first of all, let's talk about the gun violence at Brown, because we both were, You were a university professor, SFSU, San Francisco State. I taught there as an adjunct, and I remember when we had to go through, the drills, right?
You've been a guest speaker at many universities and colleges. I also have been a guest professor at several other colleges and universities. Actually, at Davis and at Berkeley,
Yeah.
um, I actually taught whole courses there, so in a couple of instances, and so um, I these things happened all throughout my career,
Yeah.
and it started being noticed more with Columbine because that's kind of the '80s, modern era. But the reality is, I remember campus shootings back in the '60s.
Oh yeah.
There was a Texas Tower shooting where
Oh yeah.
uh, somebody was up with a small caliber rifle, but they were able to kill, I think, 22 people.
Yeah. That was a
Um,
big one. It's funny. I even forgot the Virginia Tech shooter, which involved an Asian American shooter. Completely
yeah, Korean immigrant, yeah,
yeah
South Korean immigrant, male
slipped my
shooter.
mind. But I guess the thing is, this has always happened. We never seem to have a good answer. Um, Back in the day in 1989, I mentioned the Cleveland shooting where um, a guy went into Stockton, shot up a schoolyard, and they actually passed the the Bush administration at the time was able to pass some a tough law, but that law sunsetted,
That's
and
right.
no more assault weapon ban. But what I noticed, the thing that gets me is that they, number one, they haven't gotten the perp. They've got a picture, but they thought they had a perp because Cash Patel, always
he,
premature,
he
always
popped
premature. We
again.
got him. You
You
don't
know,
got him. But but we aren't going to see, I don't think, any calls for doing anything about guns, are we? We're not in the U.S.
Not until this is one of those questions that I ask my friends, particularly those who have served in public positions, including elected office.
Hmm.
And I asked them a straightforward question, and that was really, do the Democrats have what it takes to not only stop the egregious damage, destructive damage, extremely destructive damage that's been committed by the Republicans, and not just under this almost a year old now,
Yeah.
11-month-old Trump administration, but even before that, and even before Obama. I mean, the Republicans have been working away at and what Representative Klein, a Republican,
Hmm.
CLINE. I was watching him being interviewed on CNN today because he was one of the people who witnessed the statements made by Smith, right, Jack Smith, in front of Congress, closed session, right, even though he had demanded that the session be held in public, right.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is that Klein let the cat out of the bag. He was very predictable. He criticized the hell out of Smith, said that he was a Democrat agent, that he was harmful to the country because of his unjust persecutions, not only of Trump, but of Republican politicians, and his
Hmm.
investigations were unconstitutional, all that stuff.
All right.
But
Yeah.
at the end of his statement, he
Hmm.
let the cat out of the bag. And
What?
he said, we've been trying to reverse, right, the good stuff, for, including Medicaid, Medicare, ever since it was passed, right? And
Yeah.
so, he didn't have to say that, right? He could have just stayed with his criticism of Smith, but he went all the way back to an old policy issue that Republicans have always held. And so, why are people now shocked or surprised that they're not going to be able to afford health insurance when these guys have been against Medicare ever since it
Yeah.
started?
Right. And I guess the point is that you can always count on the Republicans to reverse everything, including gun laws. And so they're not going to put out any better gun laws if they,
No,
if they're
no.
against the
And
assault
so,
weapons
so
ban.
then the question becomes: do the Democrats have what it takes to convince the public that these kinds of changes are needed? Now, the polls show that the public is in favor of reasonable restrictions on guns. Who has them? What kind of guns? And all the rest of that. And they've done it before, as you referred to, right?
Yeah.
After the '89 massacre in Stockton, California led the way, but Congress passed legislation regarding long guns, particularly combat weapons like the AK-47, which was used in that shooting. What I use, remember, we had this conversation when that was happening. I can't believe that we've been talking about this stuff that long.
Well, the thing is, it just keeps coming up. And this
Yes.
is the thing about politics, and the budget, and who's cutting what. It's cyclical. It happens again and again. And whoever has the upper hand now, the Republicans have the upper hand, but they may lose that. But it just keeps going back and forth. There used to be this belief that there was something settled, that we had a settled sense of how things should go, but the Republicans have come up and they are reversing things like Roe v. Wade, affirmative action, civil rights.
Yeah, Roe v. Wade, the reversal of Roe v. Wade was actually their bellwether.
Yeah.
When that was a test of SCOTUS to see how that would go. And everything else became very predictable. I think the first bellwether of SCOTUS was, for me, Citizens United. Yeah. When they made that decision way back, right, during the first term of the Obama administration.
Yeah, right. Citizens United, of course, it made corporations people or persons, and you can get contributions from anyone. Corporations,
campaign donations, right, were the equivalent of speech by a human being or a group of human beings. And they literally said that this is needed to balance the political balance against the political influence of the left, particularly unions. Okay, that was what this was supposed to do. And the public bought that argument, right? The reality is that politics and the courts have really favored conservatism and the right, okay? All throughout history, all throughout the world, okay? It's always liberal ideas that come from the left that have had the most difficult time being passed. It usually takes great human sacrifice to achieve those goals. And that has all been erased. And it did not start with this administration under Trump. It started long ago. This guy has just been able to make it work rapidly.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing that it still feels like, I mean, we're clearly on a regressive backward trend, but we still hang on to this idea that, we can fight racism. But as we talked about last week, they're taking away the tools that we can fight discrimination. So
can't file lawsuits, even though they distinguish between unintentional and intentional, and they pretend that you'll still be able to sue for intentional discrimination, right?
Yeah.
They're taking away the data.
Yeah.
They're locking that stuff up. EEOC is an investigative body as well as a body that's supposed to challenge institutions. Institutions, including private businesses, right? When they do something unconstitutional, about having to do with employment. Yeah. But that's been wiped out. They've decimated most of the Department of Justice, as well as all of those agencies that were specifically enacted into existence to carry out the protections of the Equal Protection Amendment of the 14th Amendment. So there it is.
Yeah, well, it's the regression is clear. And, when these events like the Brown University shooting happens, it's so odd that in Australia, when they have a shooting at Bondi Beach, they're talking about gun laws. And here in the United States...
And they've already got restrictive gun laws. And they're talking about even doing more.
Right. And here in the U.S., we've been through the restrictive gun laws. We've overturned them,
No, we
and
let them
now
expire.
oh,
We let them
we
expire.
let them sunset. Right.
Yes.
And then now we're just dealing with the pain
Yes.
of Brown, the pain of all the violence that we see in society. Now, I want to point out, as a Asian American journalist, I'm looking whenever I hear about gunshots or mass shootings, I just cross my fingers and hope there's no Asian Americans involved because I work for Asian American media, I'd have to cover it. I mean, and it's not that I don't care about any other victims, whites, browns, blacks, whatever. I care about them all. But if there's an Asian involved, that in the news orgs that I work with, that's a big deal. So at the Brown shooting, we got Asian victims,
Yes.
victims who were shot in the leg, and they
Yes. And
pulled people.
some were foreign students or foreign
Yeah.
born.
I mean, it was real sad, but they weren't releasing the names unless people came forward and were talking to media. Like there was a guy from New York who talked to the Times, shot in the leg. He was helping a kid, to safety, and dragged him so they hid under the desk. I mean, these are frightening things for both you and I, who are, used to be classroom, instructors, professors, and all that. But they didn't release the name of the wounded, 9 wounded. That's one thing. They had a memorial today where they sang the Salve Regina, the Hail Holy Queen, which got to my Catholic soul when I heard that. But the names of the victims, those who were killed, were released, and one of whom was an Asian American. But it was one of those Asian Americans who one of the, not necessarily lesser, but in terms of population, we know about East Asian, we know about South Asian, we know about Southeast Asian. This was a Central Asian guy.
Yeah.
And it was, I'm he's not getting enough coverage. We need to mention his name, Mohammed Aziz Umerzakov, an 18-year-old freshman. He was studying biochemistry and neuroscience, according to the AP. And his sister said that he was shot while helping a friend in a review section for an economics final. Right, yeah. His 18-year-old kid, the sister of Umerzakova, Muhammad Umerzakova, she told the AP that her brother had suffered a neurological condition when he was a kid that required surgery, and he later used a back brace due to scoliosis. And so here's the sad thing, right? Immigrated from Uzbekistan, where people probably can't even identify Uzbekistan on the map, to the U.S. Yeah. They came to the U.S. when they were young. He's a 1.5, right? So he's an American, really. He's an Asian American from Central Asia. His sister said he had so many hardships in his life, and he got into this amazing school and tried so hard to follow through with the promise he made when he was 7 years old. And that's, that he was going to, overcome everything that was thrown at him. He was known for his sharp intellect, kind heart, quiet willingness to help anyone in need, said the American Uzbekistan Association. He carried himself with humility and compassion, earning the respect and affection of those around him. So he was described as a ball of joy. I mean, you hear about that. Not many people know about the Uzbekistani population here. They probably know less about them than the Uyghurs. And
of course.
So when I read about Mohammed Aziz Umerzakov, I hope I'm not butchering his name too badly. Umerzakov. I just fell for him.
Do it anymore.
I just fell for him. I mean, he's a kid, back brace. He's a Brown, 18 years old. God, the world's, his life ahead of him.
Brown is one of those places where, I mean, that people go to because they see it as left liberal.
Less liberal? Less
oh,
liberal?
left liberal.
Left liberal. Yeah.
And
I mean,
and
yeah. I say that because, the other person who was killed, Ella Cook, a sophomore from Alabama, was a Catholic, but she was also the vice president of the Young Republicans at Brown. So it was pretty diverse at Brown. I mean,
oh yeah,
I have a soft spot in my heart for Brown because it was one of the schools that actually let me in when I was applying to colleges, and I thought, oh, maybe Providence is where I'm going. And then, of course, I heard from other places, and it was bye Providence. But
well, you weren't far away.
no, I wasn't, but we were waiting. When the Brown shooting happened, everyone was waiting to see what was happening. How many shooters? How many? Is it terrorism? How many people killed? How many people wounded? Are there Asian names? Oh, and then, when I heard people say Mohammed Aziz, Mirzakov, I felt sad. The Central Asians, not
Yeah.
enough people know about, and the thing about the Central Asians, like, especially Uzbekistan, most of them are from Korea. And they went to Uzbekistan, and most of them identify as culturally Russian. Because it was when the fall of the USSR happened that they were independent. Uzbekistan became independent. Most of the people there are Russian, and it's a mixed kind of nation. Anyway,
Yeah, it was always high on the U.S. list as one of those places where we needed to watch. One of my professors who would occasionally take trips to Central Asia.
Uzbekistan.
Mentioned, he visited both Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
one of
former State Department people, right?
It's one of those things where people don't really recognize Central Asia as being Asian. Then you see their names, you say, oh, that's Russian, or that's Muslim or Islamic, and then you see their faces, and they're Asian. You see it, you see it with the Uyghurs, And of course, because religion tends to divide everyone, it becomes a source of discrimination there, here, everywhere. But to be an Uzbekistani at an Ivy League school, but the world,
the tragedy is that, I mean, the two victims that passed away, the tragedy is that they're so different, okay, and that they're so young, okay, and they came, to that institution in large part because they thought it'd be safer. So there were two students who were shot previously at other school shootings.
Oh yeah.
One wasn't shot, but she survived
Parkland,
Florida. Parkland.
Yeah.
And the other survived a shooting in LA. Yes, in Los Angeles. And she was shot. She was actually wounded by the person who killed her best friend.
Yeah, when I read those stories, it's kind of like, wow, what are the odds if that happens and there's two people, and this is America today, where the odds are that good that you can be a student in a college and it would have, experienced this isn't the first shooting, you've been through another shooting before, because it's being in public in America. The gun violence is all over.
I could only imagine what the trauma and the lasting trauma, and then the resurgence of that trauma in my life would be like if I had suffered the same circumstances as at least those two students. There may be more. There may be other people who haven't come forward that were the victims of previous school shootings. So that's where we are. And as we start, when you started this issue, you commented on the fact that we haven't we've allowed any, and the restrictions against long guns, and particularly quote tactical weapons. But the original language I think they used was military
Yeah.
style weapons, and then they gradually moved over to the use of the word tactical, right?
Yeah.
But I think I think they should have stayed with military style weapons, because
Yeah.
people understand what those look like, and they also understand what the purpose is. When you use the word tactical, what does that mean? It
Some
just means a specialized kind of weapon, a specialized kind of gun,
Hey,
right?
yeah, some guns are better than others, right? If you want to kill a
Well,
lot of people, that's
it,
tactical.
so is it only that's right? Is it only coincidental that the guns that they describe as tactical are actually military weapons? That's it, right?
Yeah. I just it saddens me because you talk about trauma, and it's one thing, the closer you are to the core, the center of it, you experience it, right? As an audience member looking at it, you feel something, based on how empathetic you are. But how about as a reporter who has covered, mass shootings?
Yeah,
And I had my share. Uh, my first mass shooter was in 1980, and uh, it was in Dallas. Guy goes in, dressed in camo gear, right? Has an AK-47, says this is war, and starts firing into the church. The church.
right.
I've never forgotten it. I
Was
never
that the
forgotten it.
refugee? Was that the refugee church? It was a church, a
No, no,
Catholic church.
no. This was just a regular. This was white Baptist church. It was in East Texas, and I. Oh, there you are. East Texas is so far away from Dallas, where I was, that I had to take a helicopter over Texas, and it's a helicopter over Texas sounds fast compared to a car, but not when the competition is flying a Learjet to the news story and then flying back. And you might as well be on a camel. I'm on a camel on the way to Dangerfield, Texas. I'm going to cover this story. Anyway, that was my first shooting, and there have been others. And when you cut your teeth in journalism in Texas, you get murdered. You get your murders. So I just think that as a reporter, as someone in the media covering this, I get kind of traumatized too. I'm sure, because you try to hold these things back. You don't think about them, so you can cover them and say, well, 5 people are dead today, and 3. Yeah, I think I got to go on a news diet. I think at some point, a news
Now,
diet.
what about during the Vietnam War, when every day, first thing in the morning and last thing in the evening, you got body count, right?
Oh
Talk about
yeah.
desensitizing people to mass
Oh
killing.
man, Vietnam. I was too young. I mean, I was just on the verge of being old enough to be drafted, and then Johnson came to his senses. But I know what you mean, because I mean, as a young kid looking at it, it was I just had to turn the channel and watch cartoons or something. I was still a kid, but I know for people who are slightly older, it's traumatic. And if you fought in the war, if you're a veteran, you
Well,
know,
that's who my heart goes out to. I think about veterans every day, especially
yeah,
veterans of my generation, because they didn't only fight in Vietnam, depending on whether or not they stayed in, right after their first hitch, their initial hitch.
yeah,
They could have been involved in other areas as well, particularly Central America, right? That was happening, and Eastern Europe, that was happening. And elsewhere, eventually Africa would happen.
yeah,
So, you know, I think about them all the time, because I look at what's happening right now, and the relationship between the civilian supervision of the military is being abused.
mm,
In It's insane, frankly. And Congress is letting it happen. They've ceded away most of their most important powers, and one of the ones of their powers that have the most immediate negative potential, right?
Yeah, war powers.
Yes, war powers.
War power. Well, they've passed a defense budget, so that's bipartisan. Everyone wants to like, oh, we got to buff up, even though we're America first. We got to buff up,
And they always say that they're going to increase pay and benefits for the military, and that may occur while the individuals involved are in the military and active.
Yeah.
But then look at what their attitude is. The so-called conservative attitude towards expenditures for after they're out of the military.
Yeah.
And remember the resistance to spending for the VA and medical assistance.
Oh yeah.
The resistance to diagnosing people as suffering from exposure to Agent Orange or Agent White or any of chemical and biological agents. The resistance to TBI, traumatic brain injury, every step of the way. So-called conservatives dedicated to the welfare of our military and dedicated to the flag are restrictive as hell on the amount of money they're willing to spend on the aftermath of our people engaging in military activity, in being involved in the military, particularly when they're retired military and they've spent more than 20 years in the military. Look at the way they're dealing with higher officers. Look at the way they're dealing with admirals right now.
Well, I mean, right now, if it's not a political army. It's not an army of it's not a patriotic army. It's a political army of those who are loyalists to Trump, and that's the sad thing. It's his army.
Yeah, that's the dangerous thing. That's not sad. That's dangerous.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's you spoke about Agent Orange. Did you see that movie about that picture about Nick Ut's picture of
No.
of the Napalm girl?
Okay.
Yeah. There's a movie out, a documentary that talks about who took that picture of her name is Phan Thi Kim Phuc, and who took her picture? Vietnam girl running, or the Napalm girl. And there is the claim that it wasn't Nick Ut that took it. It was actually a fascinating documentary. It's on Netflix. People should see it because
What's the title?
No, I'm trying to find it.
So was it a regular soldier rather than Nick Ut's?
No, it was a stringer for AP.
Okay.
They say it was a stringer for AP who actually photographed it, but because he was a Vietnamese stringer, he didn't get the credit. And the only one who was in line to receive any accolades for the photo was Nick Ut. And so Nick Ut has been playing a kind of a role that he was the guy who took the picture when maybe he wasn't the guy. And that is what the documentary said.
Weren't they united several years ago? That the alleged, now as you put it, the alleged photographer met up with.
They met. They met. They
and
might
was
have
it
met.
And was it Utz that posed as the photographer?
Well, they might have met earlier, but this is a documentary by people who worked at AP and who felt guilty, and they came forward to say, look, Nick Ut didn't take that picture. There was a stringer. Here's the stringer. They interviewed the stringer. They did a whole analysis of where Nick Ut was, where the stringer was, who could have taken the shot. Nick Ut was not in a position to take the shot, yet he is getting all the accolades. And it's sad because Nick Ut, I've only met Nick Ut once at an AAJA, but it's no different from, you know, plagiarism, right? If someone's um, taking credit for something you wrote, that's not right. In the meantime, people should see that film. It's on Netflix. I
You
wish
haven't given me a title yet, but I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, well, just Google it. Nick Ut documentary, on Napalm Girl, and I saw it was riveting, and riveting because images, they, picture tells 1,000 words, right? They stay with you. And how many? I can just say Napalm Girl, and you know what photograph I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So that's a little far afield from where we're going to go, but
that's what happens when you bring up the issue of guns, colleges, universities, war, and we've got 3 elements, man, on your list that deal with guns, including the Aussies. The Aussies.
Well, we don't have to get into the Aussies too much. The fact that the only thing that people need to know about is they have tight restrictions. They're going tighter because they know it shouldn't happen. You shouldn't have, guns shouldn't cause these things. But let's turn to the knife story and Rob Reiner. I thought that was like the capper. Because you had 2 things. You had the Brown and you had the Bondi Beach, and then when you heard and you thought, oh, I'm pretty depressed. The Rob Reiner story, that hit you because everyone can relate to at least one movie that Rob Reiner did.
That's true.
At least,
he did such a wide variety of. He did everything from slice of life, romance to fantasy, to something that's near documentary, and he was A Few Good Men. The drama, that thing is a classic.
Yeah, and yet the thing that I think that I align, I see Rob Reiner in because it was him, right? On those things where he was the director, it was his touch, but All in the Family, he plays Meathead.
Yep.
That really, put him in my head forever. And I loved that show, All in the Family, because, maybe it helped develop a generation of racists, Archie Bunker,
It helped develop them?
Well, let it come out. Either you saw it. The whole thing about Archie Bunker is he was so racist. Either you were reviled by him and say, "Oh, that's not me. I'm better than that," or you say, "That's me. I want to be just like him."
Well, he was really consistent, but see, the thing about the show was that he was always given a kind of forgiveness. He was because everybody else in the family said, "Okay, that wasn't a good thing to do. Why don't you, think a little bit before you act on those kinds of things?" And there would be he would not change entirely, right?
Yeah.
But he would not be as, let's say, vile, and aggressive as he was when he first starts out, right?
Yeah.
As they set up the circumstance, they set up the conflict, and they showed that people being reasonable can actually have an influence on folks like that, and that was the saving grace of the show.
Well, you had to come back next week, right? And you had to tie things up in 30 minutes. But as far as Sunday evenings go, when you watch All in the Family, then next you watched the Jeffersons and you felt good about yourself because you watched the Jeffersons or the Golden Girls or whoever was on next.
Oh man. Yeah, I didn't watch too many of those things. I watched probably I watched Meathead more than any of those other shows.
Now, I did too.
I understood what they were about, but it was just watching the Jeffersons was second worst to the Cosby Show. You know?
Well, no, I thought the Jeffersons was better than the Cosby Show, actually.
Oh yeah, I do. That's what I mean
yeah,
by saying
yeah,
it's second
second
worst.
worst,
The Cosby
second
Show
worst.
was just
Yeah.
problematic for me. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I got it. All right. So anyway, Meathead, Rob Reiner, of his films. You know, you go through the list. Stand by Me was a great film.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Stand by Me, and then when I was a critic in 1985, they let me criticize movies on TV. I I I the Rob Reiner film during my watch was The Sure Thing. Do you remember The Sure Thing?
No.
It was kind of forgettable, but it was Rob Reiner directed, John Cusack, young John Cusack, and Daphne Zuniga, who's from the Bay Area. Yeah, Daphne Zuniga was in it. She was not The Sure Thing. She was a girl that John Cusack wanted to get involved with, and they end up doing a road trip through the United States. And the Sure Thing was Nicole Sheridan, who was really hot. So Rob Reiner had his pick of A-list young people at the time, and I did too, to figure out who would I interview for this show. And I picked Daphne Zuniga, which because she's in the Bay Area, she's very, as your reaction, a very fetching woman. And she's also in Spaceballs.
Yeah,
she's in Spaceballs.
That's right.
Which Rob Reiner has a kind of connection to. He helped get her cast in Spaceballs, but Rob Reiner did not direct it. But it just stands for, like, if this is how, people, actors and directors, they work together. Anyway, I thought a lot of people, they look at The Sure Thing and they see it as a kind of like 50s romantic comedy of the time. So that I just saw it as another one of those teen films in the 80s. But maybe I'll look at it again. The Sure Thing, John Cusack, Daphne Zuniga, and Rob Reiner, the director. One of the lesser Rob Reiner films, but because, like I said, I got to review it on my watch as critic when I was over there at KRON. I had a soft spot in my heart for that movie. Also, Stand By Me. Anyway, Rob Reiner. The whole story of the murder, though, comes down to what? Mental health, drugs, family issues.
Yeah, it was a big argument. It was obviously family issues. But, I'm really curious as to what provoked a public argument that was sufficient for them to decide to leave the party. They were at Conan O'Brien's house.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah.
So yeah, once again, it's very sad. I'm very much saddened by internal conflicts like that that result in death, in murder.
Yeah.
It's going to be no matter what happens, given the strength of the evidence and the level of charge. I really question the first-degree murder charge, but I think they're doing that because of the way that they were killed. I believe that they were in bed when they were found, and that's the way they died, was in bed. And so
I didn't get that detail, but it was a knife, and someone had access. They pinned it to allegedly to Nick Reiner. I think the thing that gets me is that we had this wave of violence over the weekend. Brown. We don't know, but we're just far enough away from the Brown situation. And then Australia, further away, but still violence and the numbers, right? And then we thought, if this was okay, maybe we'll get through this.
There's also the continuous killing of people in boats that were alleged to be carrying drugs from
Right.
Venezuela. And
Well, yeah,
that was just continuous every day. I mean,
well,
it's sort of like body count during Vietnam War, right?
yeah,
Is that they
but my
blew up another 3 boats over the weekend.
point is that things are so there's enough distance so you can not ignore it, but you can say, okay, I'm all right. That's far enough away from me. But when it's someone like a television, movie, Hollywood personality who is, famous, unlike the people at Brown and the people in, and all the other tragedies we mentioned, boy, that hits home. Then I mean, we dodge all these bullets with all these, prior instances that you mentioned, and then it's someone that we see, someone we've heard of, someone we've seen their work, and then now it's like it really hits hard. I know.
Yeah.
And that just has to do with the American celebrity.
Well, yeah, it's a celebrity, and also we think we know them personally. We think we know something of them personally. Okay.
Well, we know enough. We know enough. We know their work. That's
Yeah, well, it's and I do think we know them personally. We've
Yeah.
seen them on talk shows. We've
Yeah.
seen them be interviewed about important issues. For example, my recollection is that they contributed $1 million of their own money to support the bringing of the lawsuit for same-sex marriage.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
you know,
among other things. I
well,
mean,
yeah, they donated
yeah.
money to all kinds of,
Well,
also AIDS benefits and all that.
AIDS. Well,
So,
you make that much money from all your things. They were incredibly fortunate and gifted, and philanthropic because of that. So
yes, and also, and not just quietly philanthropic.
yeah.
He was an advocate. He was a very active advocate,
Oh
and
yeah,
that's what
definitely.
I mean when I say we think we know them. It's a lot more personal in terms of your discussion about distance. But
Well,
I'm also
yeah.
affected when people that aren't famous get killed in that kind of fashion. When it's that close and personal, and it's a family member that is the accused. I'm very much affected by that, even if the people aren't famous.
Well, all right. That's true. I'm just saying the fame and celebrity adds something because that's how we know them. I mean,
Yes,
we don't.
exactly.
We're not
I
close.
agree with that. I agree with
but
that.
there's something. This is in an American society. That's a closeness that is kind of. It's strange because it's kind of perverse in a way because it shouldn't be that if we know someone we really should know them, but we don't really know them in American media celebrity society. We just think we know them, which is why we have things like stalkers and that like
Now you're getting to where I think the issues are, because now you're getting to the frequency of mental health issues. Here we have what appears to be a mental health issue. Okay, it appears to be right, and you have people already making comments on this because there's a pattern of addiction in their son's life, and he's attempted to get over his addictions and failed a couple of times. And if you know somebody who's either been an addict, okay, or who is currently suffering from mental health issues, very obvious mental health issues, right? You can identify with that, and you can understand that there's a danger present in a lot of people's lives because mental health is a big issue in American society. And among Asian Americans, it's one that brings shame that a lot of families don't want to recognize.
Right. Well, that's the thing. You'd much rather, if you're Catholic and you're Filipino, you'd much rather, if you have a problem, you'd much rather talk to a priest than to a psychiatrist. Unfortunately, the priest will molest you and the psychiatrist wouldn't. But that's the problem. That's the problem.
I don't know. Yeah, evidently you were an altered boy rather than just
Yeah.
an altar
I
boy.
I'm just saying that, psychology, um it hasn't really, or well, only recently has sunk in to the greater Asian American community. Most of the time people avoid talking about it, they avoid being public, they have other resources in the community. But yeah, mental health
Well,
is.
okay. Let me. San Francisco's got a large Asian American population. We
Mm,
have agencies, okay, but I'm going to tell you right now, it is very difficult, even when Asian American families want to get mental health care. It's
mm.
very difficult to get it. Okay,
Because of language,
not
because
enough
of.
resources. No, not
Mm,
enough resources. We have agencies that are culturally aware, that have the linguistic skills, that have the an ethnic studies background, so that it's not
yeah.
just people from coming from a Western anchored point of view. Western
Mm,
psychiatry, Western psychology. We have people like that. It's just that they're not funded well,
yeah.
and that's just so it's very restrictive in those terms, right? So
Yeah.
you have people working in the public sector, for government agencies, for city and county agencies, and then you have people that are working for nonprofits that often are contracted, right, by
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
city government, by county government, and we have both of those available, but not enough, and they're not
Yeah.
funded enough.
Yeah.
We
We
don't.
need more.
It's like, yeah, we
Yeah,
need more.
I agree. We need more. And here's the other thing. Here's the other thing that comes up. You know, Donald Trump, in response to the Reiner incident,
Oh man,
chose. I mean, he chose to go mental health, but he chose to expose his own mental health by talking
oh
about
my
a
god.
concept called Trump derangement syndrome, and saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, Rob Reiner, he didn't like Trump. He didn't." And that's the reason why this happened. I mean, it was
Well,
so
and
self.
he uses exactly the same words to describe Smith as he does Reiner. Exactly the same words. They're
What?
deranged.
Oh, deranged. Yeah.
They're very sick people.
Well, he's using that term, which I've used in the shows that I do. I talk about Trump derangement syndrome, and uh, I'm sort of glad that he's brought it up, because it's used by him to describe how people feel when they react, you know, negatively toward Trump. And that's not a mental illness. That's a natural reaction to his stupid policies. But for him to not show compassion, to not show empathy, shows that
Well,
he.
it's not just, but it was worse than that, man. It was worse than not showing empathy. It was showing absolute disdain
Oh
for
yeah,
these people and
yeah.
blaming them, blaming the victim,
Oh
right,
yeah.
for their
Blaming the.
own
That's
death.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's worse than not showing empathy.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Blaming the victim. It's your own fault, Rob Reiner. You have Trump derangement syndrome. It's your own fault. Yeah, that was so
He was
non-presidential.
Reiner had influenced so many people, to take the liberal, view of life and
Yeah.
issues, and and
Mhm.
and so he deserved to die, right, at the
Yeah.
hands of his own son. And this guy, he didn't say those things, but that was the implication
Yeah.
of the
Well,
statement. And
a
did
lot.
you see the length of the damn statement?
Oh
I
yeah, it
mean,
was long.
it is
For
really
Trump,
ridiculous.
it was long.
He's
Hey,
very sick.
but Dan, it was heartening that there were some people on the Trump side who also realized that Trump had gone too far on that.
I don't
Some.
know what you mean by Trump's side, because there's
Well,
degrees, right? There,
well,
there are
well,
degrees of commitment
I'm
to
just
the
saying
man.
that there's some Republicans who also were
That's
very.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not necessarily Trumpers.
Yeah.
A lot of Republicans are actually never Trumpers. Okay, but they can't afford to be never Trumpers in public. Okay, because they know that they'll get wiped out, and
Well, that's.
they don't want their
Yeah.
families being threatened the way
Yeah.
that everybody else has been threatened. I mean, these
Yeah.
people. Can you imagine? I mean, can you imagine how sick
Mm.
the people are that make those kinds of calls? not only to the politicians but to their families, right?
Yeah.
That is who is in support of this man.
Yeah. All right.
And that's
So
what I've been saying ever since the guy said he was going to run. When Obama criticized him at the annual
the White House Correspondents'
Dinner,
yeah.
When he did that, I said, man, he's going to regret that he did that. Okay, because they showed Trump's face.
Yeah, I don't know if he regrets it, but I don't think.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
Well, I don't think that people.
Let's ask Michelle.
Yeah, I just don't think people thought that Trump was so immature and so.
Immature? He's crazy. He's he's egomaniacal, man.
He's deranged. Trump is deranged. He has democracy derangement syndrome. He hates freedom. He hates
these arguments. Okay, we're on mental health and we're on Trump. There are all these arguments. Is he really a narcissist? That's this kind of stupid question, right?
All right.
Then the question is he a malignant narcissist? Which means he's really sick, and that's on that area at the margin, right?
Yeah.
Between neuroses and psychoses. That's where he's at. Okay.
What I like.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that how crazy he is. What matters is he does what he does, and you got to deal with that. I don't really give a crap whether or not psychiatrists and psychologists line up. I think it's interesting. I like looking at their analysis, but it doesn't matter. The guy does what he does, and he's very predictable.
Well, if you saw the Susie Wiles story in Vanity Fair, Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, I thought, the fact that she identified Trump as having an alcoholic's personality, and then the second part of that is he just thinks he could do whatever he wants.
Right.
He thinks he could, and that was probably the most revealing thing, because that explains everything that Trump's done. Now he may be someone who is non-alcoholic because his brother apparently was an alcoholic, so he doesn't want to deal with it. But we're missing out if we get the dry alcoholic Trump, in his personality, because I guess it could be much worse. But when I saw that, I thought the Susie Wiles thing very revealing, and maybe this is the precursor as we see the lame duck Trump emerge. What is he going to do as more insight into what's happening behind closed doors is coming out?
When she is quoted directly, okay. Yeah. And she says, I was taken out of context. And then they take a piece of tape and they roll it out and they show the complete context, right? To contradict her completely. Right? Yeah. And she says things like, he's got an alcoholic's personality. And then and when she talks about other people in his cabinet, right? Yeah. And how weird they are and how Bondi, she had to screw that up. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
I mean,
he doesn't know how that happened. She's still blocking and tackling for him, man.
The problem with Susie Wiles is she is the guardrail for democracy, and she has laid down. She has laid down and said, "Not my job."
I disagree with that completely.
Well, no. Well, she's not the guardrail. I'm saying she's supposed to be. She's supposed to be the guardrail.
Say that.
She's supposed to. But I'm saying she's the flat guardrail. She's the flat guy. She's the guard. The chief of staff is supposed to be, oh, sir, yeah, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. She is
but what we found out, right, and what is really clear is that she was the major enabler of all of his stuff. She was the major enabler, and even Carolyn Levitt is my boss, right? Yeah. She's the best ever, right? Just like he's the best president, she is the best chief of staff ever.
Well, what J.D. Vance said was he called her the facilitator, called Susie Wiles the facilitator. So, and that's her view. I'm here to help him. This is what the people want. No, this is not what the people wanted. But
even when she disagrees with him, yeah, and she has said she disagreed with him,
oh yeah,
but
yeah,
on
but
several issues. But when she said, uh, in the instance of ties, the president wins.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is a woman who only cares about her job and her good standing and not about the people. And that's the sin. That's the sin. She had to be the guardrail. She was the guardrail. But then she fell. She said, I'm not
Well,
I'm the
then
facilitator."
the question that people should be asking themselves is, when people say that she's the greatest and he's the greatest, what does it mean? What do they mean by that? Because what they have done, as you just said, right, is not to serve the interests of the people. So whose interests are they serving? And it's really simple. It's people who have attained that level of power. That's
Right.
it.
That
That's
that
it.
that yeah, that level of power, or people who want that level of power and are willing to prostrate themselves to do whatever they need to get into that circle,
Yep.
and
As soon
include
as
the
you use the word prostrate, I start thinking about Epstein.
yeah,
So
yeah. Well, it's definitely it's people who are the sycophants. It's people who it's the tech bros, and
oh
it's
man,
kind
that's
of
the sickest part. It makes me feel nasty because now every time I drive down past Palo Alto, man, every time I'm in Silicon Valley, all I can think about is a bunch of anus heads. A
yeah.
bunch
Oh
of
yeah. Well,
re- oh man,
hey, what that
I'm so
article said.
embarrassed for the Bay Area, man, because
Yeah.
of those
Well,
guys.
what that article said about Musk and about his dismantling of USAID and not
I
caring
thought that
about
was pretty good. I thought,
yeah,
I
not
mean,
yeah,
Trump is
but
going to hate that one, but
yeah,
I thought it was pretty good. She was being
yeah,
really honest and
yeah.
straightforward.
Well, the honesty is good, but here's the thing. It was like she disagreed with his dismantling of USAID, but she Musk's idea was, oh, let's just burn it down, tear it down, and we'll build up a new one. I mean, that was like, so we have something good, but he wants to tear it down so he can tear it down and then build
Well,
up.
a guy that fled South Africa because things weren't going white folks' way,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Mm.
and who clearly identified with fascist regimes, okay,
Mm.
and and who had been sued several times over by his own employees, right? Because administration at Tesla was unwilling to deal with acts of racism, okay,
Yeah.
against their employees, right?
Yeah.
And who has been anti-union. That guy is going to build us a new institution
Well,
to
he's going
replace
to
the one
build.
that he's totally destroyed.
It's like the one. Well, it's going to match the ones that he liked in South Africa before he left. All right. One last thing. The quote I liked the best from Susie Wiles is where she's talking about Donald Trump. And Susie Wiles is the daughter of Pat Summerall, the
Oh yeah,
NFL announcer. And she was surprised that Trump was really into that and into the fame of her father, Pat Summerall. And she said, Trump said, I judge people by their genes. And when she said that in
woohoo!
the article, it was like ding 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 ding. This is what it's all about. We want genes, good genes, the white genes. We want white ethnic
It is.
purity. I
It is.
mean, when she said that, I said, "Oh my God!" And of course, no one's really talking about that much, except people who have an ethnic viewpoint. If but most people shy away from the ethnic viewpoint. But the fact that she said that Trump told her that he was impressed by her father because he judges people by their genes.
Yeah.
How would Trump judge us,
And he
the
wasn't
sons
talking
of
Levi's. He wasn't talking Levi's or Wranglers, man.
yeah,
He
or Gloria Vanderbilt's,
or Vanderbilt.
Or Calvin Klein's? But how would he judge people like us who are sons of Filipinos who were colonized,
Dude,
who came to
dude,
America in the
we
20s?
ain't white. We
How
ain't
how
white,
How
man.
would he judge people who are descendant of slaves? How would he judge people who are descendants of people who crossed the Rio Grande to work in the fields in California? How would he judge those people? How would he judge the genes of those people? You know,
Well, okay, here we go, right? Okay. Asians have reached higher positions
mhm,
in all institutions in American society than
mhm.
any other racial category. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm,
40 years ago, I started saying in my class, let's take a look at these issues. Now that Asians are showing up, particularly in the sciences, right? We're
mhm,
showing up. We actually had competitive companies like Wang Industries, right?
yeah.
Versus IBM and all that. And I said, well, do you know why Wang Industries got started? Is he used to work for Big Blue, right? But
Yeah.
he wasn't getting anywhere, and he the closest he was going to get was maybe associate vice president or something like that, So he
Uh-huh.
started his own damn company, right? And it succeeded, but then he turned it over to his kids, and typically the second generation screws it up. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
exactly I've seen that happen personally, man, for companies that
Yeah.
I've worked for while I was in college, right? So hey, it's a real thing. Now, how do you explain genes when that happens? Right? When you see second and third generations screw it up, right?
Well, look, the reason how you can explain it is, well, look at the inbreeding of the royal family in England. How is that working out? How did that work out?
I don't know. Don't
Look.
ask Andrew. Don't ask Andrew.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, that's the thing. Well, look, so Dan, we've gone past our hour. Some final words from you, Dan.
oh man, let's do something about violence overall. Let's address. I mean, it is a mental health issue. People who are too easy to anger, people who are willing to call up their politicians and threaten them and threaten the lives of their kids and
Mhm.
their other family members. We have to address that, and we have to. Why aren't they being punished?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't we be having police, a special unit, going after people who are doing those things? Because it's
Hey,
criminal to do that.
wait a minute, Dan. Are you talking about defunding the police? Are you saying defund the police?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't have very much confidence in that. And that was another stupid so-called progressive idea. I hate it
Yeah.
when they say that. I say
Yeah.
progressives, but they say progressives did that because I used to consider myself a progressive because I thought it was more acceptable than radical,
Yeah.
And so now forget it, man. Just call me a radical. I'm fine.
Hey,
I'm fine.
well, Dan, I appreciate you saying. I appreciate your thoughts.
Anger and violence, we got to deal with it, man. You got to
Yeah.
punish the ones who are doing that kind of thing, and we have to talk to each other and say,
Yeah.
we don't have to get like that. We don't have to
Civil.
be
We got to
angry.
be civil. Civil. We got to
Yeah,
talk. And that
yeah,
if you had seen my show on Monday, I try to get to that because I deal with certain things, and one of them is trying to talk to people you want to forgive, you want to you want them to forgive you, and and another person who you want to forgive them, and it's a mutual forgiveness. Because look, the Christmas miracle is forgiveness. There, I said it. That's the Christmas miracle.
well, I
Forgiveness.
think yeah, definitely in very local terms.
Yeah.
It is because one of the most difficult things to do is get along with everybody
Yeah. And
over the
and if
holidays.
if the thing that you don't, that makes you not want to get along or get together is because you don't forgive people. Oh, I don't want to be with that person. Oh, yeah, you got to sit in the same table with those. It's the Christmas miracle, forgiveness. And so the thing I did on Monday at the Marsh talks about that and how I got there. It was only a 20-minute show, so I don't know if I was successful, but I need a 60-minute show to get to real forgiveness, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, if you want to see the show I did at the Marsh, the Monday Night Marsh, email me, emil@gmail. I'll send you a link. But so, Dan, you can still see me in January and February up in Potrero Hill. It's the way it works is the tickets are essentially free. You just have to give a donation. So
Yeah.
and you can give $100,000 donation. Not bad. I'll take that. But you don't have to
Sure.
go all the way. It could be like a $30 donation or
Yeah.
20 or
Well, I was
50.
planning on getting rid of my stocks in Tesla anyway. So.
Oh yeah, well there it is. There it is. But go to
Okay, hey,
amok.com
folks,
and get the
folks,
links.
that was a joke, folks. I have not at any time owned Tesla stock. I
Oh
am not
yeah,
going
yeah.
to own a Tesla
Oh,
car,
that
right?
he was burning
And
Tesla
and
stock
and
last year.
California is getting ready to suspend Tesla being sold and doing any business in the state of California because they have misadvertised, right?
Oh
To
yeah,
to the resulting deaths of several people, right?
yeah.
Their
Well,
self-driving aspects of their cars.
hey, I'll
So,
tell you, I'm very down on self-driving. Although I was in San Francisco the other day and I was on the right side. Someone thought I was supposed to take a right turn, but I wasn't. I wasn't mandated to take a right turn. I went straight. But the person to the left of me
tried
thought
to make a right.
she tried to make a right and almost went right into me. And it was not a self-driving car. It was a driver driving car, a stupid driver. So maybe I should like self-driving cars more because
I got people who don't, come into the city only occasionally, right? I mean,
Mhm,
they come in quite frequently, but let's say only twice a month at most, right?
mhm.
And they get nervous when they're around a Waymo. And I tell them, look, man, I'm around them all the time. Sometimes I'm surrounded by Waymos. If you go downtown, right, you're surrounded by Waymo. I got a Waymo in front, Waymo behind, Waymo on one
Yeah,
side, right?
yeah.
And I have never had a problem with a Waymo. Okay,
Well,
never.
that's
They
because look,
drive better. They drive better
drive better
than
than an
human
Asian.
drivers.
They drive better than an Asian. They drive better than an Asian. I don't know. I don't know about
Yes.
that.
Oh, oh,
I
oh,
wouldn't
man! Don't
generalize
take
so
me
quick.
there.
I
Don't
wouldn't
take me there.
generalize so
One of my
quickly.
favorite angry Asian cartoons is him cursing at another Asian male, saying, "Man, and you got the nerve to say, man, it's racist for them to criticize our driving, right?" I said,
No.
"Damn, you know." I had to drive into the Richmond every day to drop Linda off at work and then drive out to the Sunset and out to the campus. And I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you, there's all kind of Asian drivers,
Yeah,
and it
well, they're
was
all
not
kinds.
an
They're all
easy
kinds.
thing.
They're all kinds.
It
Hey,
was.
all right. So, Dan, thanks for coming on early. Um, uh,
You mean on a Wednesday rather
on a
than
Wednesday, yeah.
on a
But
Friday?
we're gonna play this all throughout the week. People can see it,
Yeah,
and
let's see what
hopefully they'll.
happens.
Yeah,
Yeah, we had some points of disagreement that I thought were legitimate points of disagreement here.
they're
I
never.
like
They're
that. I like
never.
it. Well,
We.
no, man. Out of conflict, right,
Yeah,
comes a
but we
synthesis
never
of a new
disagree.
thing.
Really, we
Uh,
never really
Out of
disagree.
conflict, if you work it out right, comes understanding, and
Ah,
we need to do that.
yeah,
That's what you
that
know. We're actually exemplars of how you can be really close friends and disagree on major issues and stuff,
and
right?
that is the Christmas miracle. That
Yeah.
is the
Well,
Christmas
I don't know. Why are
miracle.
we associating it with Christmas? It's just it's the miracle, and it's the thing that we need most in
And
this society. Can you imagine if people just said, "Let's talk about this, see where we stand"?
just do it year round. Forget Christmas. Yeah,
That
do it year
well,
round.
I
Year
think
round.
Christmas, the reason it's a miracle at Christmas is because we know that it's a risk, right? That those disagreements can come up, that the conflicts can come up. And it's so it may not necessarily be about forgiving people for things that happened in the past. It's being worried about what's going to happen in the present.
Yeah. Well, that's the miracle if it all goes well. All right,
Okay,
Dan. Dan, I think I'll see you next week. We'll talk. We'll do something
okay,
early
all
next
right.
week too.
Be
And
safe in the meantime.
yeah, and I hope Linda
We
feels
have to
better.
do our last minute. What are we getting people for Christmas?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm hoping that the seafood that we're always, there's a pattern that we have established at going to Christmas dinner, the big one. I
Yeah.
mean, there's this
Mhm.
one big dinner. I swear, 40 people show up, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
that's the one, and I got to make sure that we're able to get all that. this
All
year.
right, all right. You can try the vegan ones. They're easier. They're easier.
That's
All
true.
right.
Well, we do have a couple of, we're really lucky because two of the families are actually caterer in one instance and restaurateur in another instance. So the level of competition is kind of high, for us amateurs, for me as
All
an
right.
amateur anyway.
All
All right,
right.
man.
Dan, take care. I'll talk to you next week. There he goes. My friend Daniel Phil Gonzalez, College of Ethnic Studies, San Francisco State University, Asian American Studies, Professor Emeritus. We kid. We kid. We don't really disagree, I don't think. But, he did say he forgot about my show on Monday. So that's all right. He said, send me an email. I'll send you a link. You can see the show. TheMarsh.org, Monday Night Marsh. Emil Guillermo Christmas, or Emil Guillermo Merry Christmas, I think. Or Emil Amok Merry Christmas. It's a Christmas story. Christmas story. Talk about my tree. But then the next go round is in January. I talk about Emil Amok 69. The news made me do it. A real newsman stands up. I think I'm going to declare something. I'm going to declare that maybe you shouldn't be watching the news. All right. And then another thing. So go to amok.com and click the links there to the shows in January and February. Hey, listen, thank you very much. As I said, we're doing this early because I'm going to doing a funeral thing toward the end of the week. I talk about that in my show, my Monday show. So it's kind of a weird December, weird holiday season, because there's joy and there's also sadness. So I hope nothing but joy for you, wherever you are. I'd like to close the show with a little meditation. I borrow from Sharon Salzberg. Loving kindness. It's all about kindness and love. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time.